What happens when the person you belittle turns out to hold all the power over your future? In a world where appearances can be deceiving, one man's arrogance leads to the ultimate lesson in humility. Picture this: a lavish office bathed in sunlight, leather furniture, and a man in a tailored suit seated at the center of it all. Meet Edward Clark, the CEO of a prominent tech company. He was known for his sharp business acumen, but also for his sharp tongue. Edward had it all: wealth, power, and respect. Or so he thought. But behind closed doors, whispers echoed about his dismissive attitude toward those beneath him. From secretaries to janitors, Edward believed anyone below his rank deserved nothing but orders. One particularly busy Friday, Edward strode into the office earlier than usual. He noticed something that infuriated him: a janitor in his office, wiping down the windows. The janitor, an older man with silver-streaked hair and a kind face, wore a name tag that read David. Edward snapped, "Who gave you permission to be in here?" David turned calmly, his hands still gripping the cleaning cloth. "Sir, I'm just finishing up. I'll be out in a moment." But Edward wasn't having it. He pointed at the door. "Out! Now! I don't pay people like you to waste my time." David quietly left without a word, his shoulders slightly hunched. Little did Edward know, this brief exchange would set off a chain of events that would change his life forever. That same evening, Edward attended a high-stakes board meeting. The company was undergoing a major restructuring, and rumors of a surprise announcement were buzzing. Edward, of course, assumed he was about to receive another accolade or perhaps a promotion to oversee the company's global expansion. As he entered the conference room, the atmosphere was electric. The board members exchanged nervous glances, but no one spoke. The chairman of the board, a stern woman named Margaret, stood up. "Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for coming. Today marks a new chapter for our company. After thorough deliberation, we're introducing a new CEO to lead us forward." Edward smirked. He leaned back in his chair, certain they were about to announce him. But Margaret's next words wiped the smug look off his face. "Please, welcome Mr. David Wallace." Gasps filled the room as the same janitor Edward had berated earlier walked in, not in his work uniform but in a sharp navy blue suit. His silver hair was neatly combed, and his confident demeanor silenced the entire room. Edward shot up from his chair. "This has to be a joke." But it wasn't. Margaret continued, "David Wallace is not just an experienced leader, but also the largest shareholder of this company, following his recent acquisition of majority shares." Edward's mind raced. How could this be? The janitor, the man he had humiliated? He felt the walls closing in, and for the first time, he was utterly speechless. As the room settled, David stepped forward to speak. His voice was calm but firm, with a quiet authority that commanded attention. "Thank you, Margaret," he began. "I've spent the past year observing the inner workings of this company, not from the top, but from the ground up." He turned to Edward, his eyes piercing. "And what I've witnessed has been eye-opening. Leadership isn't about titles or wealth. It's about respect, integrity, and how you treat those around you." David paused, letting his words sink in. The room was so silent you could hear a pin drop. He then addressed Edward directly. "Earlier today, you reminded me why I made the decision to take on this role. You see, Edward, arrogance blinds people to their own flaws. But humility? Humility allows us to grow." Edward's face turned red, but he remained silent. What could he say? David concluded his speech with a powerful statement. "In this company, no one is invisible and everyone matters. That's the culture I plan to build." Over the following weeks, David restructured the organization. He implemented policies that valued every employee, from entry-level workers to executives. As for Edward, he was demoted to a regional manager, a position far from his previous grandeur. Months later, Edward sat in his modest office, reflecting on how everything had changed. He realized that his downfall wasn't due to external forces, but his own inability to see the value in others. One day, David paid him a visit. Edward braced himself, expecting another reprimand. But instead, David extended a hand. "People can change, Edward," David said. The question is, are you ready to? Edward hesitated, then shook his hand. It was a moment of redemption, a chance to rebuild not just his career, but also his character. Life has a way of humbling even the most arrogant among us. Edward's story is a reminder that power is fleeting, but respect lasts forever. What would you do if you found yourself in Edward's shoes? Would you learn from your mistakes, or let arrogance consume you? If you enjoyed this story and want more thought-provoking content, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. Join us next time for more stories that challenge the way we see the world.